You want to put it in the board here? Okay, good evening and welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for the town of Eastchester for March. We start our meetings with the Pledge of Allegiance. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, while everyone's getting seated and coming to order, I usually take this time to go over some of the ground rules. Firstly, we conduct the meeting under Robert's Rules of Parliamentary Order, which essentially means that action is taken either on motion or resolution and by vote, and that generally the public will be able to speak when recognized by the chair. So let's take that opportunity now to go over new applications. We have one tonight. Your application is marked submitted. The documents are all part of the public record, so when you do present, you don't need to read the entire application. I would generally ask you just to summarize the crux of the application. I mean, you can read it if you want, won't either help or hurt the application, but just to let you know, it is a public record. And then the board will generally have an opportunity to ask questions, the public will be heard, and then you'll have an opportunity to sum up. So, having said that, I want to also make a point of order that I do every meeting now, that I want to remind the viewing public that no new correspondence is accepted after the close of the public hearing, because again, through technology, sometimes people will send in emails after they see something on a hearing when they're viewing at home, and unfortunately, there'll be no communication accepted on any applications once the public hearing has been closed. Okay? First, I have a motion also to approve the minutes of the February 14, 2023 meeting. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have two items on the calendar that have been adjourned to the April meeting, which is April 11, 2023. They will not be heard this evening. That's application 23-08, 59 Overlook Avenue, and that's application 2304, 28 Reynolds Place. Okay, so the one item, new item we have on the calendar tonight is application 2311, 16 Knox Road. Is the applicant present and ready to present?
No, we haven't done it yet.
Thank you.
Just a minute.
Okay. I have one point of administration, by the way. At a meeting on February 23rd, 2023, the Planning Board declared its intent to serve as lead agency for the seeker review of application 2302, 205 Beach Street subdivision for a proposed 8-lot subdivision. As a result, I'm making a motion to confirm that the ZBA has no objection to the Planning Board serving as lead agency for the seeker review of application 2302, and that's the Beach Street subdivision. Is there a second to my motion?
Second.
Mr. Kalin, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. One other item for anyone viewing public at home contemplating a new application. Our calendar has been out since last year. It's online. If you're considering a new application, bear in mind that as one of the several essential terms and conditions of that application, it's not decided upon the first time it's on. That's important because of the calendar, and if you're looking to do something for the summer, we have meetings April, May, June, and we do not meet in the summer other than for possibly a resolution in July. So having said that, tonight's new application is not decided tonight. It gives the board an opportunity to have the public be heard and then individually deliberate on each application. Okay. On the resolution calendar, let's start with number one. I make a motion to approve application 2305, that's 28 Howard Avenue. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. DeMarco to the vote. Mr. Cahalan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Nerzia?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
I vote yes. That application has been approved 5-0. Item number two, I make a motion to approve application 23-06. It's 18 Laurel Place. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan to the vote. Mr. Cahalan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Nerzia?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
I vote yes. That application has been approved 5-0. Item three, I'll make a motion to approve application 23-07, Anderson Avenue. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller to the vote. Mr. Cahalan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Nerzia?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
I vote yes. That application's been approved 5-0. Last item on the resolution calendar, number 4. Similarly, I make a motion to approve this application 2309, 57 Locust Avenue. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan. To the vote, Mr. Cahalan?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Nerzia?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco?
Yes.
I vote yes. That application has been approved 5-0. Okay, the item of new business on the calendar, this is application 23-11, 16 Knox Road. Can the applicant come forward, state your name and address for the record, and proceed?
Good evening, Board. My name is Marco Majorano with Community Designs Engineering in reference to 16 Knox Road. Our proposed work for this property is a rear yard pool underground, which dimensions are 26 by 12. The existing property is slightly oversized. It's 54 by 100 in an R5 zone. What we're seeking approval for is the setbacks on this pool. From the pool to the rear yard, we have 7 feet 5 inches. From the pool to the dwelling, we have 8 feet. Permitted is 10 feet. In terms of drainage, impervious area, the property is existing non-conforming. We have 2,742 square feet, and permitted is 2,700, so slightly over. Although our calculations for that 2,742 does include the existing gravel area of about 218 square feet under the rear deck. For the proposed work, the pool, it consists of a coping around the perimeter of the pool, which is about 80 square feet, along with the equipment for the pool, which has a pad, and that's about 24 square feet, which both of those items are considered negligible in terms of stormwater runoff. I'd like to point out that the rear yard is also screened fully around the perimeter with existing abrevieties. The other item is the dimension from the house to the pool is 8 feet. We have spoken to the fire department. The fire department has accepted that number as a minimum 8 feet. That's all I have in terms of what we have laid out for the project.
Thank you for the summary. So at this time, I generally have the board either ask questions or have any commentary. Mr. Cahalan?
You answered my question.
Okay. Mr. Miller?
No questions.
Nerzia?
No questions
Mr.
or
DeMarco?
comments? Nothing.
I don't have anything at this time. I make a motion to open the public hearing on this matter. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Cahalan, all in favor?
Aye.
Would anyone from the public like to be heard on this application? One at a time, if you can, come forth and state your name and address for the record and proceed. Yes, please. We have a stenographer, and they have to get all of the...
Thank you, Board. My name is Chuck Miller. I live at 17 Huntley Road. I want to remind the members of the Board that Knox Road and Huntley Road are not at the same level. Knox Road is about 5.5, 6 feet higher than Huntley Road. Therefore, because of that, there are retaining walls at the back of all the Huntley Road properties right across because of the difference between the heights. And that's my concern with this particular application. My concern is these retaining walls are very important, obviously, between the two properties. I'm concerned that with the amount of equipment that would be necessary to dig this pool, that it's going to somehow compromise our retaining walls. And that's my main concern as far as the application is concerned. In addition, I'm also concerned about any runoff as far as water is concerned. Since the pool is within 7.5 feet of the back of the property, I'm concerned about that as well. So those are my two concerns as far as the pool is concerned in terms of the application.
Thank you for your commentary.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for your commentary. Would you like to be heard, please?
So my name is Nancy Friedman. I'm at 19 Huntley Road, and my property backs directly behind and significantly lower than Mike's. I have about 8 feet difference. As it is now, I get significant runoff from the property behind me because it slopes downward. You may or may not be aware, this was a golf course. This was the country club where we are now, the clubhouse. And so different areas of this Huntley area, some are hillier, and unfortunately Huntley is at the bottom of 3 hills. So there is a water problem. About, I would say, 10 to 12 years ago, I had dry wells put in my backyard, piping for the water to be moved out into the street with a runoff into the street for the overflow. I still get water. This morning, I had water in the backyard. The water was flowing out to the street. I have water in my crawl space. Now, I did take some pictures this morning. If you would care to look at them, that's up to you. And we did not have a significant rain last night as other storms. So my primary concern is, how is the drainage issue going to be addressed? I am looking at it that there will be even more soil removed, which absorbs the water. The water that is coming off of the roof, where is that going to be directed? And the integrity of the fieldstone wall, which was put up by the original owner. I would not like to, it's a gorgeous wall. I wouldn't like it to fall down. So do you wish to see some of the pictures that I took this morning?
Well, that's entirely up to you. If it's part of your presentation, if you'd like, you could pin them up and be part of the public record.
They're on my iPad. I did not bring pictures.
We're still in the 19th century, so we couldn't help
I
you.
am definitely, I've been told, I won't even tell you.
Well,
what I've been
perhaps
told.
you want to give us a brief description of what the photos depict.
The photos that I have, or the pictures that I have on my iPad, basically show water in my crawl space, which seeps through, even though I've had quote-unquote waterproofing done along the foundation, that there is standing water in my backyard, that there was water from last night's storm that was moved into the street by the drainage work that I have already done in the past. My concern is that this will just increase the amount of water that will be coming into my yard and into my crawl space.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Is there anyone else from the public like to be heard? Good. Before you proceed, I just want to go over one point of order, because this comes up frequently, that we allow the public broad latitude in their commentary, because things like water runoff and potential issues with the integrity of the retaining wall certainly affect the character of the neighborhood. But I just want the public to understand that when an application is considered, and if it is approved, those items must be in full compliance with the building department as it relates to the structural integrity of a retaining wall that's in the vicinity of excavation or water runoff. So an approval doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change that element, that there has to be full compliance with today's code. I just wanted to make that comment. So please, come forward, name and address for the record, and proceed.
Joseph Pellicciari, 10 Knox Road, also president of the Huntley Civic Association. Some of the concerns, obviously, they're particular to the neighbors and the adjacent properties. However, I'd just like to speak on behalf of just from the perspective of knowing Mr. Callow, his wife, his family, there's a thoughtfulness into how he approaches everything he does in his home as well as his wife. And, you know, one of the things being discussed are the size of the vehicles being used. We're not talking about gigantic excavators that are going to dig out a pool. I mean, in my area of work, we see equipment every day. You're not going to use something that's going to probably cause disruption to the property. But what I would like to say is there's a diligence to how they operate. There's a diligence to how they function as neighbors. They're ideal neighbors. They're great people. And the fact that there's already built-in security, there's fencing all around the property, that's probably the code, I'd have to imagine. The privacy of the shrubs. As a parent with a child that may actually, if this pool is approved, go there, I would put my full confidence and my full faith in the safety and the appropriateness of the pool. And I think that's just something that we really need to consider when we're talking about a matter of feet. It's also the caliber of the applicant and the way that they're planning to utilize the space and an appropriateness and and a diligence in how they operate. And I think that I'd just like to make that point and just have that be on the record as well.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Would anyone else like to be heard on this application? Okay. Forward, name and address for the record and proceed.
Good evening. Teresa and Mike Palladino. We reside at 20 Knox Road. We're in agreement with the pool being built. Our neighbors have done nothing but positive things since they've moved into the neighborhood approximately 8 years ago. They've made significant changes that have been, like our other neighbor said, fencing, the shrubs. They take very good care of their home. I'm sure everything will work well. I do understand we also have a retaining wall to our neighbors on Huntley. We do understand, but I'm sure it'll all work out.
Thank you.
I echo my wife's comments as well. I think they're fantastic neighbors, very conscientious, and I see no issue with the pool. So we
Thank you.
support it. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Would anyone else like to be heard? Generally, no, but in this, we'd go ahead, please. Usually, the public has an opportunity to speak. It's not really a trial, or point, counterpoint, but please.
No,
Please.
they are fantastic neighbors. No question. I adore their kids. No question. That has nothing to do with my concern. Again, the concern is the water issue. That is the primary concern. I don't want to hurt their kids. No way. I know Gabby and Mikey want their pool. I understand that. I was a kid too, many years ago. But my concern is, how is it going to affect my property? And that is why I am here. Thank you again.
Okay, thank you. Would anyone else like to be heard on this application? Okay, seeing no one, I make a motion to close the public hearing on this matter. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Miller, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, before we go back to the board, would the applicant like to reply to any of the commentary? Okay, so then we'll go to the board. Mr. Kalin, do you have any questions or comments of this applicant?
Oh, yes, I do. So I would like the architect to talk about the impervious surface coverages. Have they been, obviously you're not asking for a variance, so you haven't increased the impervious surface, is that correct?
Yes, there's an increase in
Small?
small amount, which is
40 feet?
104 square feet.
Yeah, so it's there, but, I mean, sometimes we see ridiculous impervious surfaces calculations. So one of the things I'll always ask, is there any way to reduce the impervious surface? Can you put more grass someplace, take some pavers out someplace? Give it a second look, just to reduce that. I mean, it's a beautiful plan, I get it. I'm sure you spent a lot of time on it, but, you know, we have impervious surfaces, especially in Huntley. You know, I know when I was on the town board, Huntley always flooded. We dealt with that flooding for years, you know, and it's just, as was said, it's an old golf course where we're sitting. So if there's any consideration, I would ask if there's anything you can do with the existing, reducing the size of the impervious surface. The 2 feet, you know, that you're looking for with the fencing, I have no no issue with. It's a small variance considering some of the things that come up in front of us, but I would ask if there's any way you can reduce the impervious surface coverage, even though it is a small request. If there's any way to look at it and do something to have more.
Reducing the patio by 104 square feet would be, you know,
Would change the design completely.
yeah.
Could I,
Mrs. Yuli? I'm sorry to interrupt
We
you.
can, I have spoken to the applicant, there's a possibility of adding a dry well, but that would end up reducing the length of the pool from the 26-foot length to 24, and possibly putting that dry well on the larger side, which would end up having 5-foot setbacks from a single dry well, which we would obviously route water from that patio to this new dry well to be installed. But we would have to work out those details with the building department, because we don't have the true 10 and 10 from the property line on that side, even with that 2-foot taken from the pool.
Mrs. Yuli?
yeah, I was going to make two comments. One, with regard to decreasing the impervious surface area, some of that is, again, gravel that's underneath the deck. So honestly, if they remove some gravel underneath the deck, they would not need the variance, but I don't think that would make a significant difference with regard to the concerns about stormwater management.
absolutely not.
So I do think that for the neighbors that are concerned about the stormwater management, just to reiterate what you had said, we have a civil engineer that's sitting here that can review this plan in great detail with regard to any concerns about the stability of the wall and with regard to stormwater management issues. I'd hate to have you install a dry well or remove gravel if it really isn't going to make a significant difference one way or the other. I think maybe it's something, this has been within the past year that all of a sudden pools, people are expressing concern about the stormwater consequences. We've never had that before. So Mr. Tremelli has reviewed some of those applications and then proposed recommendations to ensure that there isn't a negative impact on the adjacent neighbors. So I would think rather than right now telling the applicant what to do, maybe make a condition of approval that the stormwater issues, I know it's related but unrelated, but I do understand the neighbors' concerns. And if you make it a condition that it's reviewed by our consulting engineer, I think that might be a good approach if you were to approve it.
Yeah, we've walked this tightrope before on issues of stormwater when it relates to, really, it's an area variance. Which we're really talking about is the location in relation to the lot lines and the impervious surface. But it does affect the quality and character of the neighborhood to a certain extent. That's why we hear it. But it certainly would be a condition to any approval, because the building department is going to have the ultimate say on those items. So yes, for sure, Mrs. Yuli, thank you for fleshing that out. Anything further?
Done.
Mr. Miller?
Done.
Mr. Nerzia?
No questions.
Mr. DeMarco?
Nothing.
Okay, I don't have any questions. I just, again, in terms of your 5-part test and the character of the neighborhood and a detriment to the community, I think you've answered that. But again, you know, the conditioned upon having oversight and review of the building department and managing any stormwater issues. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn this application for resolution at the next meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. DeMarco, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, board.
Okay. We finished what's on our calendar tonight, and usually at the end of a meeting, the only thing left is to make a motion to adjourn to the next meeting. But tonight, I want to welcome our new head of building and planning, Lucas Herbert, who's here tonight. So welcome, and you're going to be a great addition to the town. But the sad part of that is that we're saying goodbye to Mrs. Yuli, who put in many, many years here. And it would not do you any service if I spent like 2 hours reading all the wonderful things that you've done. So I'm going to just say that you took disparate boards and things in this town, whether it was planning or zoning or the building department, and you brought them into a cohesive unit and brought this building, planning, all under one rubric into like the 21st century. And you're going to be missed here, and I just want to thank you for your years of service. And if there was anywhere I could impose a resolution not letting you leave, I'd do that. But since it's retirement and your husband wants you to spend more time with him, I'm going to have to say that we're just going to wish you the best and hope that you come back and visit every once in a while.
Thank you, thank you. It's been great working with everybody on the board. You guys are such great guys. I've enjoyed it a lot. I'm not going to miss the meetings. I am going to miss you guys.
Well, when it was a condition of
In
taking...
that case, I'm going to retire too.
Well, as a condition of becoming chair, I told you that these meetings would be a lot shorter, so. Anyway, thank you again. So, I make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting and to our next meeting, which is April 11, 2023. Is there a second to my motion?
I'll second.
Mr. Kalen, all in favor? Aye. Good night.
Good job.
Thank you.